Before this video ends, you're going to realize something about yourself that you've never been able to explain. If you constantly check the mood of people around you before you speak. If you apologize even when you did nothing wrong. If deep down, you feel like love has to be earned. Then you didn't just have a difficult childhood. You were shaped, psychologically, neurologically, by a toxic household. And most people who live through it don't even know it's still controlling them today. Stay until the end, because the last sign I reveal is the one nobody talks about. And it might be the most important thing you hear today. Sign 1, you became the emotional caretaker. In a toxic household, children do something extraordinary, they reverse roles. Instead of being taken care of, they start taking care of everyone else. You learn to read facial expressions like a survival skill. You learned that if dad came home tense, you needed to disappear. If mom was crying, it was somehow your job to fix it. Psychologists call this parentification, and it creates adults who are exhausted, because they've been responsible for other people's emotions since they were 6 years old. You don't know how to just exist around people. You're always managing. Always monitoring. Always performing emotional labor that nobody ever asked you to perform. Sign 2, you normalized what was never normal. Here's something disturbing. Children don't compare their family to other families. They assume everyone's home feels like theirs. So if screaming was normal in your house, you thought screaming was just what families do. If love was unpredictable, given warmly one day, withdrawn the next, you thought that was what love felt like. This is why toxic household survivors often don't recognize they're in toxic relationships as adults. It feels familiar. It feels like home. And the brain confuses familiar for safe. Signs 3 and 4 are where it gets really specific, these are the ones that hit the hardest. Sign 3, you're hypervigilant without knowing it. Hypervigilance is your nervous system stuck on alarm. You notice the slight shift in someone's tone. You feel tension in a room the moment you walk in. You overanalyze text messages. You assume the worst, not because you're pessimistic, but because your brain was trained to detect danger early. In your childhood home, catching a shift in someone's mood early could mean the difference between a normal evening and a terrible one. So your nervous system built an early warning system. The problem? You're still running it. Even in safe relationships. Even at work. Even alone at 2 a.m., when there's absolutely nothing wrong. Your body never got the memo that the war is over. Sign 4, you have a complicated relationship with anger. People from toxic households tend to go one of two ways with anger. They explode, because they learned that's what emotions look like. Or they never get angry at all, because they learned anger was dangerous. If you're the second type, if you swallow everything, if you say it's fine when it's not fine, if you feel guilty just for being upset, then you were probably the one who absorbed everyone else's emotional chaos. You made yourself small to keep the peace. And now you don't know how to take up space without feeling like you're doing something wrong. Sign 5 is the one that explains why your relationships as an adult feel so complicated. Sign 5, you chase unavailable people. Think about the people you've been most intensely drawn to in your life. Were they emotionally unavailable? Hot and cold. Present sometimes, absent others. There's a reason for that. When you grow up with a parent who was inconsistent with love, affectionate one day, distant the next, your brain develops what psychologists call an anxious attachment style. Feels like longing. Like trying to earn something. Like a puzzle to solve. So stable, consistent, boring love doesn't feel like love. It feels like something is missing. You're not broken. You're running a program that was installed in you as a child. But it can be uninstalled. Sign 6, you're your own worst enemy. In toxic households, criticism is constant. You're too sensitive. You never do anything right. Why can't you be more like? After enough repetition, you don't need them to say it anymore. You say it to yourself. That internal voice, harsh, relentless, never satisfied, that isn't your voice. That's a voice that was given to you. The inner critic of a toxic household survivor is often louder and crueler than any external person in their life. And the worst part? You believe it. Because it's been there so long, it sounds like the truth. And now, sign 7. The one I promised at the beginning. The one nobody talks about. Sign 7, you grieve a childhood you never got. This one is different from all the others. At some point, maybe in your 20s, maybe later, something shifts. You're watching a movie. Or you see someone's family at a restaurant. Or a small child laughs and runs to their parent who catches them without hesitation. And you feel something. Something between sadness and anger and longing. And you can't quite name it. That's grief. You're grieving the childhood you deserved but never had. The hugs that didn't come. The words that were never said. The feeling of being completely, unconditionally safe in your own home. Most toxic household survivors never let themselves grieve this, because it feels like betrayal, or weakness, or reopening something that's been closed for a long time. But this grief is important. Because you cannot heal what you haven't allowed yourself to feel. If this hit you today, that grief is not a sign that you're weak. It's a sign that you were a child who deserved more. Growing up in a toxic household doesn't make you damaged. It makes you a person who developed extraordinary survival skills in an environment that demanded them. The hypervigilance. The people-pleasing. The emotional caretaking. The inner critic. These were adaptations. They kept you safe then. The work now is learning which ones to keep and which ones to let go. If you recognized yourself in any of these signs, you're not alone. And understanding this is the first step. Drop a comment below with the sign that hit you the hardest. I read every single one. And if you want to understand why you feel like you're never good enough, no matter what you achieve, that video is next. It will explain something about your psychology that most people never figure out.